Alright guys, welcome to the first episode of Below the Bar. In this episode, expect to find out what we would do to handle the obesity epidemic,
how not to get an invite onto the Joe Rogan Experience, and also a critical deconstruction of me when I was fat.
Let's get into it. Welcome back. We're in. Lifting the lids over. R.I.P.
Below the Bar, he's here to stay.
Yeah, this is going to be the stay-in podcast now, so lifting the lids over. Thank God I can stop talking about the Marines. We can get into some different topics, okay, some interesting topics. What are we going for today?
It's a big one. It's going to get quite polarising. It's obesity.
Yes, so we're going to cover obesity. Obviously, as two PTs, we're kind of well placed to talk about it. We're clearly not nutritionists, so don't come at us with any of this fucking bollocks in the chat, in the comments. Right? We're not going to be 100% accurate potentially on some things, but this is our opinion.
And emphasise opinion, because I've seen too many podcasts that sit on the fence with obesity.
Yeah, you've got to make a decision.
You've got to get stuck in, and you don't shirk a tackle.
Got it. Okay, so we're going to be covering basically a different large topic each week, and we've got some traditions, same as last time, but different traditions to cover again within the episode. So
yes, we've got some segments, haven't we?
Yeah, some segments to go through. So we're going to do one at the front end of the episode and one at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
So the first one we're going to do, I'll introduce it. It's called Helmet of the Week. Essentially, blindly, me and Eddie are going to choose someone from the week or someone of prevalence that has annoyed us, and we're going to just talk on them, introduce them, and try and cast some shade on that person.
Yeah, so, it's pretty self-explanatory, isn't it?
That's going to be the first one, and then the back end of the episode, what we're going to have.
Well,
we've got
it's reasons to be cheerful, isn't it? Really.
So we've got a little tradition. We actually play this on our long runs.
Yeah,
training.
We've stolen it from our marathon training, haven't we?
Yeah. During the end of our long runs, when we're both in the locker, we give each other reasons to be cheerful, and it's essentially like a good news story from the week, or just one that we've kind of
it's the things that you take for granted in life, isn't it? That like you kind of actually need to just reflect on and think.
So we can end on a gratitude note.
Yeah, basically, how wanky is that?
But first, we go through Helmet of the Week, so I'll have you go first.
Right, yeah, so we'll park obesity for a second.
Yeah.
We'll come back to that. My Helmet of the Week requires a visual aid.
Okay.
Would you like it?
I would like it.
It's like a police interview, this is.
Have you seen this
for the benefits of the tape, I'm now passing Harry Shepherd an image.
And I'll put this on the edit so you'll be able to see it. Oh, okay, it's a big one. Describe
to the listeners what I've just positioned in front of you.
Okay, it's about 4 prime ministers ago now, if I'm right.
Yeah.
So it's Boris Johnson. He's in front of me. Again, we'll flash this up. And I believe, is it Running Gate?
Yeah, it's Running Gate. Okay, so I'll explain Running Gate briefly. Basically, Boris Johnson could have been Helmet for the Week for many, many different reasons. But specifically, for the sake of fitness, it's Running Gate.
Right.
And this came about a few weeks ago when Boris Johnson got papped being chauffeured to his hotel in full running kit, but he then proceeded to run the last 40 metres of the journey to create the illusion of cardiovascular fitness.
That he's getting his fitness in. So he's been doing this for years.
Yeah. No, so as if this wasn't bad enough, some absolute keno on the internet did some digging, and apparently he's been doing this for years.
That's mental. So for years he's been. We always got the photos of him finishing his run, didn't he? All sweaty in his gym kit.
Mate,
in like polo
this
shirts.
Is criminal rig.
Shit.
He needs someone check his hard drive.
Yes, I mean, they need to do that for many reasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's been doing this for years, and shock, he hasn't lost any weight. He's been running all this time, but he's stayed the same, probably put on weight.
But is this not completely just like emblematic of Boris Johnson?
Yeah.
The bloke's ego is so big, he's even convinced his own cardiovascular fitness that it's better than it actually is.
Yeah, so and he probably believes it himself that he's getting some physical training benefit from the 40-metre dashes at the end of his car drive.
He did that 40-metre dash at threshold, to be fair to him. Like.
Yeah, he's put that on Strava.
Yeah. This is the guy that would pause his Strava. Do you know when people started running in lockdown?
That 5K thing.
Yeah, mate, this is the guy that just used to take the piss with his elapsed time.
Yeah, he probably gets in his chauffeured car, pauses his Strava, gets out, runs the last bit, 5K in 12 minutes.
To be fair to him, right, if he's getting chauffeured to some Gucci park and he's running around there, that makes it slightly less bad, but then it's still a pet peeve. Because people that drive to then go on a run are helmets within themselves.
I don't get that. What you just created more admin for yourself.
This is what I mean.
Just start at home and finish at home.
So, I live in a boring place. It's not a picnic, mate. You're just supposed to put yourself in the locker, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I don't get that. Unless you like going somewhere like Snowdon or, going to like a national park to go and run around that. I understand that. But, if you're just going 10 minutes down the road to run around the woods,
that's what I mean. And let's be honest, with a rig like that, he's not setting the fucking land speed record, is he? Let's be honest. He's bimbling around the estate. And then he's crawling back into...
Again, boobs.
He's crawling back into his kitchen.
Bra, them, like.
They do.
Yeah.
So, anyway. My helmet of the week, Boris Johnson for Rungate.
Got you. Okay.
Your helmet of the week.
Right, V-Shred.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
I had a feeling it might be this man.
Okay, V-Shred, but for a specific reason. If you haven't seen V-Shred before, he's the guy who goes, he's got like loads of Facebook ads around social media, and he goes, take my free body type quiz to find out what you should be eating. Chat's absolute shit, right? He's a complete charlatan, doesn't know what he's talking about, but tries to sell you that he knows what he's talking about. What he essentially does is put hundreds of thousands of pounds behind ad spend so that he targets his ads to newbies around the fitness space, so they wouldn't know any different. So he's like the gatekeeper, and then they go and do his quiz and he sells them a pre-made ebook or whatever and gets loads of money. Anyway, the reason he's my helmet of the week is because he's faked being on the most prolific podcast in the world.
I've seen this.
Joe Rogan.
Yes.
Yeah. So right. Joe Rogan, if you haven't seen it, he uses like a Shure SM7B mic or whatever, which is the same mic as everyone uses for podcasting because it's the best one. He's brought one of these. He's put it up with the stand that Joe Rogan has. He's even got the curtain, the burgundy curtain that all the guests are in front of in Joe Rogan. He's got that. He's got the angle as if he's a guest in Joe Rogan, as if he's being clipped, and he's chatting some shit about body types, whatever. But he's clipped that, and he's put it on social media to make people, if you just glanced at that and didn't do any digging, you just think, fucking hell, he's been on Joe Rogan, he must know what he's on about.
What he's done there is he's faked being on Joe Rogan for clout.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is low, in my opinion. It's
extremely low, but
not least because Joe Rogan will basically have any old fucker on his podcast anyway.
Yeah, true, and he wouldn't have feature.
Well, no, he wouldn't go that low, but
that's the reason he's had to fake it. But yeah, I mean, for advertising purposes, he's made himself look a whole lot more credible than he is.
He's like the atypical internet charlatan, though, isn't he?
Yeah,
exactly. He ticks all the boxes for Bellend. which is
terrible.
what his helmet of the week.
Exactly. So I mean, each week there'll be one of these from both of us. We don't know who's each other's are, so it's blind for each of us. But yeah, that's this week. Joe Rogan fakery from V-Shred.
Anyway, that's enough of that.
Yeah.
From one controversial topic to another, let's get in.
Let's get straight
to the UK obesity epidemic. Now, I've come with notes today.
Okay, it's all right.
Such as the seriousness of this epidemic. I've had to do some hefty research. Yeah. Where do you want to start? Should we cover some housekeeping?
Let's go housekeeping first. So, what is obesity? Because, I mean, obviously everyone kind of loosely knows, but what's the general
so like if you see
recognised definition?
If you see a heifer in the street, you can identify them, can't you?
Yeah.
But there is actually some signs behind what obesity is.
I mean, there is.
You got to call a spade a spade.
Yeah. Well, it's predicated off BMI, isn't it? Body mass index. Yeah. So that's how we kind of know whether someone's overweight, obese, morbidly obese. I think obesity's over 30 BMI.
Yeah.
So it's off your height and weight, right?
Yeah, it's weight in kg divided by height squared.
Yeah. So that's. I mean,
it's not
very accurate.
It's quite rudimentary in the sense that most professional rugby players would be clinically obese.
Well, you'd probably be nearly obese.
Yeah, I would be obese because it doesn't
anyway.
Distinguish between fat and muscle mass.
Yeah, lean tissue and adipose tissue aren't distinguished between. But, to be honest, for the majority of people, for like Gen Pop, it's pretty accurate.
This is my point.
Most people don't have loads of lean muscle.
Yeah, if you're Joe Bloggs from Smethwick and you're packing the pounds, I wouldn't get too bogged down in whether it's it's confused your muscle mass with your fat.
Because shock horror, you're not playing for England sevens.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
as a basic rule of thumb, if you're not a professional athlete, I wouldn't get too bogged down in the minor details.
Then you can probably believe your BMI up to a point. However, I was actually listening to something on the way here that was talking about this, and they said that a more accurate measure would be you look at your height and your waist circumference.
Yes.
Right, so you'd have like a ratio. So you'd have a 6 foot would have like a 36-inch waist circumference, because if you have over that, then you're probably looking at obesity levels, because that's quite accurate, isn't it? Because if you've got loads and loads of adipose tissue, it's going to collect on the stomach, and that's going to tell us whether you're in trouble in terms of loads and loads of diseases, obesity and diabetes, the main ones, right? So
see that makes sense.
Yeah,
but as with a lot of things related to obesity, as we will learn, the science is way ahead of the actual political discourse.
Oh, that's like everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's completely...
That will take years to trickle down into like...
Yeah, I think
that
makes
public
absolute
policy.
sense, because if you took that from a bodybuilder or a rugby player, if you take their weight, their height and their waist measurement, then it probably would bring them out healthy. So it's probably an accurate one. That's a good way of doing it, I think. Anyway.
Right, so that's what obesity is scientifically.
Yeah.
Let's now look at the state of obesity in England,
in the UK.
And it doesn't make for very positive reading.
Yeah, it's not very inspiring. Let's just put it that way. Do you want to do the stats?
Yes. Right. Okay. So these stats are taken from a Commons Library publication. So like House of Commons do like research papers and stuff. So it's a legit document. Is basically what we're trying to say. So 38% of adults in England are classified as overweight.
38% of overweight. Okay.
Yeah.
Part that one. Keep that in your mind.
25% of adults in England are obese.
Okay, that's England. And then 28% across the UK.
Yeah.
So if you take Scotland and Northern Ireland, I guess, into consideration.
And Wales. So we'll go off the 28% figure.
Okay,
because it's higher.
Backs our argument more.
Yeah.
And then 75%. This is a crazy one. So 75% of adults aged 45 to 74 are either overweight or obese. 75%.
So that's 3/4.
That's insane.
Of
basically
assuming
middle-aged to elderly people.
Yeah,
right?
Assuming that like not that many people live after 74.
No, what's the
it's like it would
life
be,
expectancy is like 81.
Yeah, so basically like 3/4 of like adults aged 45 and above are either overweight or obese.
That's insane.
Which is,
and as we said,
is bad.
Like, not a lot of those people are overweight or obese on that scale because of their lean muscle.
Yeah.
That we can probably take as the majority of those people. So 70%, let's say, of the 75% are overweight because of excess body fat.
And perhaps most worryingly, 10% of children are obese before their 5th birthday
This is a
in
mental
England.
one.
That
10%
of children
before their 5th
You know why that pisses me off? Because that's not the kids.
Oh no,
that's the parents.
100%. There's a statistic between if you're... it's like the likelihood between if your parents obese to how likely it is your kid's going to be obese, and it's crazy. It's like,
well, they just feed them the same shit, don't they?
Exactly, and there's some genetic trade-off as well, but obviously environment's huge, and if your mum and dad aren't active, you're not probably going to be as active.
Yeah.
And if your mum and dad are eating shit, you're going to be eating shit.
It's role models, isn't it?
It's role models.
It's bollocks.
So
that's a general picture of the UK right now.
Yeah.
And it's bleak.
Yeah. It's kind of following America, isn't it? Which is not a good thing.
Yeah.
When we think about America, we think about fat and obese people. We know that when you walk around the streets in America, you can see the difference between us and them. I think it's going the way of America, isn't it?
So I think, on a whole, we aspire too much to be like America.
Yeah, well,
and
you've got so westernised.
Yeah, you got some stats that back this up, and I've got some stats that back this up.
Yeah, so
you've got a nice little infographic, haven't you?
Well, yeah, I have. This is between England and Europe. So this is in terms of ultra processed food, which we know in sort of excess consumption is causal for obesity, and this is the UK compared to the rest of Europe. So, what percentage of someone's food shop is comprised of ultra processed food? And in the UK, it's 50.7%. So over half of someone's food shop is ultra processed food. So
That's
not
not
minimally
good.
Processed. ultra processed.
We can assume that, but as a basic rule of thumb, ultra processed food is food that basically looks fuck all like the raw ingredients that created it.
Exactly. So what are we, things like donuts, things like Snickers bars, all these kind of things that have no.
Unfortunately, foods that are all too common now.
Yeah, exactly. And as we found, and if you compare that to some of the countries in Europe, again, I'll flash the infographic up. We've got Portugal at 10.7%, so we're 5 times worse in that respect.
It's that Mediterranean diet.
Yeah,
they're smashing it.
Well, if we go to Greece, they're 13.7%.
Again.
So there you go. So like there's obviously countries around us that are worse, but we are the worst in Europe.
We are the worst in Europe, and then shock, if you look at the international fatty leaderboard, guess who tops that?
Well, the United States.
The United States.
Yeah. And you can't... Well, so to bring this statistic full circle, 73% of a US food shop is comprised of ultra-processed food. So that's a huge jump even from where we are in terms of ultra-processed food compiling their food shop. So, I mean, it's just insane. Like, 73%. I mean...
That is shocking. Like, where is the nutritional value in any of that?
What are you... And probably, you know, I don't know what the other...
Well, you might as well just fucking scran cardboard.
Yeah. What's the 20... What do you reckon the 20-odd% is there? It's probably a little bit of meat. That's it.
Milk.
You know, milk maybe. Yeah. It's insane. So the majority of what Americans are eating or have available to them is...
Basically came out of a factory.
Yeah, and this isn't all to do with like the individual's decision to go and purchase this sort of food. It's actually on the supermarkets as to where they put it. Like they put it in super accessible places. It's like eye level most of it, so that when you're walking around, it's what you see. It's also things like when you go to the counter, what's at the counter. So you know when you're like impulse buying or whatever, you see something. It's never the healthy stuff, is it? It's all the stuff full of sugar.
This is where you get. So like you probably think of supermarkets as kind of just an arbitrary thing, like that's on the shelf there because it is.
No, yeah.
But like there is so much psychology behind where things are placed in a supermarket.
Yeah, 100%.
There's a reason why the fruit and veg aisle is always in the middle of a supermarket.
Yeah. Because
you have to walk past all the shit they actually want you to buy to get to it.
And it's because the stuff they want you to buy can be mass produced.
Yeah, so it's more
scalable, so it's profitable.
It's more profitable, exactly. Right. So it's not looking good. Supermarkets aren't helping.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Why are we getting fatter?
Why are we getting fatter? So it's a question. I mean, the supermarkets are playing into it, as we've said. Yeah. There's a couple of reasons, obviously.
So I would put supermarkets... Right, okay, so I did some thinking earlier. None of this is based on scientific research. Okay. This is based on my own lived experience, right? Okay. So take it with a pinch of salt. But I think 3 things are behind our obesity epidemic.
Okay, go for it.
So I would put supermarkets under the first heading.
Yeah.
Which is an abundance of highly calorific, low quality food.
Yeah. It's completely abundant and it's cheaper, generally, isn't it? If you're going to go and do a food shop, if you're going to buy like shit food, it's generally going to be cheaper than it is to buy good whole food.
And unless you think critically about what you eat, all of this becomes normalised very quickly.
Yeah, and you have to actually make a concerted effort to go and eat decent and go and buy decent food.
This is what I mean.
Like said, the less than ideal stuff is shoved in your face.
Yeah, and this is where a real pet peeve of ours comes in. Muckbangs.
Oh, here we go.
And the binge eaters.
Yes. Okay.
We
only discovered this today.
Yeah.
So it's fresh.
So
fresh off the press.
So bear in mind now, when we get fucking seething in a minute, I've only been aware of this for 6 hours, and this is how rent-free it is. Right.
We've had to bring it up midway through the podcast. Okay.
Because it's so pressing.
Again, we'll get a clip up and of that guy, right?
And put it now.
And put it in there now, and you'll see a morbidly obese person who's made millions and millions of pounds and got millions and millions of engagement, subscribers, views, followers, TikTok, Instagram, wherever it's been. For some reason, it's completely viral. Yeah. So it's basically a geezer who's really, really fat and just doubled down on it rather than doing anything about it. Yeah. He's just doubled down and he's gone, right, what I'm going to do is just play to my strengths and I'm going to eat as much as humanly possible and just make a video of it. Yeah. And that's what it is.
So I call this the fetishisation of gluttony.
Yeah, well, that's exactly succinctly put exactly what it is.
So
people are watching these
Yeah.
out of like enjoyment and pleasure, watching someone literally kill themselves
But
slowly.
there's an irony to it, because these people are paying morbidly obese people basically to be a public health liability.
Yeah.
Not realising that their taxes
Gonna come full circle.
are then going to have to keep them alive.
Yeah.
It makes no fucking sense.
It's paradox,
It's like the
isn't it?
modern day freak show.
Yeah, it is. It's like the circus, but we've put it online and we've just made it extremely unhealthy.
But like that YouTube short that I sent you earlier of that
Oh, yeah.
morbidly obese woman who's
Yeah.
called, what's her name? I wrote it down.
Right now.
The hungry fat chick.
I mean,
That's-
that should be a red flag.
It does what it says on the tin there. Anyway,
Yeah, good branding.
this woman had to put out a video to her followers because she'd been hospitalised because she had an infection.
Yeah, so she couldn't film a normal content,
So she
which would be smashing herself with calories.
But the great thing was the irony was lost on her.
yeah.
Do you not think you're in hospital because you're making this content?
Yeah, she was like, oh, it's only an infection. It's probably an infection because you're insulin resistant. So this woman was there in bed, in a hospital bed, and all these people liking the video, commenting
Giving
on the
her
video.
support.
I mean, this is just like playing into... If you saw someone do the same with drugs, or drink, or something like that, you saw someone completely destroy their life with like shooting up heroin or snorting cocaine online and it just went viral, you wouldn't have people in the comments supporting them. You'd be like, oh, this is amazing. It's like, it just wouldn't be tolerated.
This is why people skirt around the obesity issue so much, I think, because it's just not reached. It's not reached that state in public discourse yet where you can call people out for destructive behaviours in the same way that you can with a smackhead.
Alcohol. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But it's equally as damaging.
But it's equally as damaging, but I just don't think we've had that discussion with ourselves in society yet.
No.
And people shy away from it.
Yeah.
But the best thing you can do is engage and discuss with it.
Yeah.
Because
100%.
unless you do that, you don't make any progress.
No, and these things need addressing because this is just insane. And you'd have seen the clip. Like, that bloke is not far away from
Death.
Like, he's huge.
You've got to call a spade a spade. Like, that guy is not healthy.
You can watch his videos. You can go and watch them, right? He's eating, like, Mackey's, like, tons of it. Like, three cheeseburgers, like, a massive carton of chips. He's just getting it down him as fast as possible, just for views. And he's probably caught in this echo chamber now, because this is his livelihood, I imagine.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Imagine he doesn't do anything else, because he probably can't. So...
Well, he's not an athlete, is he?
No, so he's probably not that skilled. Anyway, this is what he does now for a living. So now he's probably thought, right, that's what I'll do. I'll double down on that. I'll go and make loads of content on that. And now what he has to do to almost pay his bills is actually injure himself even further.
Yeah.
And he's just pushing himself further down the line. So it's not a great position for him to be in.
No, there's no end game here.
No.
Other than him being dead.
Yeah, and the people supporting it.
Yeah.
I can't really say
this is just one of the many sad symptoms of just this abundance of food everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know how lucky we are in the West
to
have the availability of food that we do.
Well, it's only until you travel that you realise that.
Exactly.
Like, there are people literally still living like we did years ago, where you didn't have any of this. And the thing is, we didn't evolve like that. Like, we evolved with the scarcity of food, and so when we had something that was calorie dense or whatever, we latched onto it. We were like, fucking sick, this is it. And we haven't evolved any further.
No, so like a good example of this is hunter-gatherer societies that still exist to this day.
Yeah.
They're few and far between.
Yeah.
But, anthropologists that go and live with them for a bit and go out and hunt with them, like if they come across a beehive or something, they'll just fuck the rest of the day off.
Yeah.
Because they will sit there and just gorge all the honey.
Yeah, because they have to, because they're storing for the next kind of day, a week, where they haven't got anything else. Whereas we are still built like that. So when we have a massive fucking chocolate cake or whatever, our brains and our bodies are like, keep hold of that. Let's keep eating that, because that's calorie dense. We don't know when we're going to feed next. Whereas we actually do, because we've got all this excess food, like you say.
So that's my first theory.
Okay.
Second theory, which they're all interlinked, is what we've got to remember. They don't exist in separation. Is sedentary lifestyles.
Yeah, so this is super common, right? And this is probably why I've got a job. But
this kind of is why PTs exist.
Yeah,
to a certain extent.
It really is. Like, there's no need really for the gym. You look at like 20, 30 years ago, our parents, they didn't go to the gym. Like there was no gyms out there, and it's become so popular now because there's a necessity for it. You know, so it's like
the medicalisation of physical activity.
Yeah.
Because normally we just live active lifestyles.
Because we'd have to again.
So you wouldn't need to exercise.
Yeah.
But now, because there's a distinction between exercising and life living, you have to.
Yeah, and like back in the day, working in a warehouse, or even like, you know, further back, like you said, hunter-gatherer, having to actually go out and hunt your food, pick it up, drag it back, whatever. You're obviously burning a shit ton of calories, but you're active. You're moving your body in a way that it was designed to do, and you're actually providing resistance to the muscles and to the joints and stuff like that with, you know, whatever you're doing. You fast forward to today, and what people are doing for work is this. So they're just doing this.
It's literally what we're doing now.
And they're just sitting down.
Yeah.
There's no activity, or everything's going on in their head and on a computer screen. And so they have to then go outside or go to the gym and make an effort to do exercise themselves. Now,
I've come up with a good example of sedentary lifestyle and the impact it can have on someone.
Go for it.
And that person is me.
That's the best example.
So we're going to take a detour now into deconstructing Fat Eddie.
Fat Eddie. So if you don't know, between year 7 and year 9, Eddie wasn't the fine figure that you see before you.
I like the way he's got the nail. He's got the years nailed.
So yeah, I mean,
so I've got a visual.
You weren't obese.
I've got a visual aid.
Okay, I think it should be good.
Right, so again, it's like a police interview. For audio listeners, I'm now presenting Harry with an image.
You really should get this on video. Okay, I wouldn't say you're obese there. You are
no,
overweight.
I am overweight.
You are overweight.
And you played into this.
Yeah.
Not like
yeah,
you weren't feeding me up. It
No,
wasn't like
yeah, I was just feeding.
Yeah. But like, so it's fair to say that from like year 7 to 9, we did a lot of gaming.
Yeah, this is true.
And we had a pretty strict routine with it. It got to the point where we'd actually share a Call of Duty. Call of Duty
so
account.
We could progress further and further and further and further. Yeah, so
it's a great example of teamwork. Not a great example of how to spend your time.
Yeah, certainly your teenage years. So if anyone listening over that age, please don't copy our sort of behaviours.
Yeah, so the date is actually on the back of this. This is Christmas Eve 2011. So I'm 13 here.
Okay.
So
13.
Firstly, I'm incredibly... 8.
Okay.
But I'm one of the youngest in my year.
Yeah.
So incredibly prepubescent for a 13-year-old.
So what do you think played most into that? Because at 13, or at 12, 13, you're not massively... you haven't got any control over your eating, really. You're not going to take yourself out on runs or whatever it is. So
yeah. So from what I can remember, obviously we're going back a bit now. Phys was non-existent.
Yeah. So you didn't do any exercise really.
We ate shit.
We did eat.
So like you'd come round mine on a Friday and we just scran
like a Domino's.
Scran a Pragos or a Domino's. We'd get a local pizza basically.
Yeah,
or Domino's.
Yeah.
Drink a load of Monster at like midnight.
So sleep was non-existent.
yeah. So you're like early hours in the morning gaming.
Yeah.
Like calling Americans fat down the mic basically.
Yeah.
Which we're still doing now.
We've come full circle.
Yeah, we've come full circle. But yeah, so like a year or so of that, and I was overweight.
Yeah, and you might be asking yourself, well, if you were on the same schedule, Harry, why weren't you obese? Well, I think the difference was physical activity. To be honest.
You were doing phys.
I think there's obviously a genetic difference. Obviously, we're not fucking brothers. Not actually brothers anyway.
You have a faster metabolism.
I do have a genetically faster metabolism.
Let's not use that as an excuse.
Exactly.
Because too many people do these days.
Well, a prime example, you still have the same metabolism as you did when you were 13.
Exactly.
You're no longer overweight. So, prime example there. But I was probably just more active because I was, my brother and my dad pushed me into those sort of things.
Yeah, you were. You're doing karate, weren't you?
I was doing football. Yeah, I was doing.
You're doing football. Yeah, exactly. So you're doing like 3 sports. I was doing none.
Yeah, so there's the difference.
Self-evident, isn't it?
The same intake, and I've just got more expenditure, and you've got less. That's what it is.
So that's that.
Yeah.
I used to be fat. Now I'm not.
There you go.
What's your excuse? Right. So I'd say the third point in my theory of why we're getting fatter.
Let's go.
Is a bit of a hybrid of the first two.
Right.
And it's the distorted pleasure-pain balance.
Yeah.
So we touched on this in Lifting the Lid,
Right.
And the idea that sometimes you've got to put yourself in a bit of a locker
Yeah.
to then enjoy the finer things in life.
Yes.
But I think
100% agree.
people are too fond of pleasure now.
There's no requirement for it, is there?
Exactly.
Like, you could go through life and have no issues with having zero pain in your life, really, couldn't you? In the Western world, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably can. So you could have, if you're not going to put yourself in, like, it's called chosen suffering. So you would define that as exercise, for example. Even, if you're inactive all day and you push yourself to go out for a walk, even that is chosen suffering. Even like eating healthy or refraining from ultra processed food when it's in front of you, that's chosen suffering. So I think there's a massive place for it, and there's growth there, but I don't think people actually see that too much, and I think people miss it as a factor.
Yeah, and for the sake of balance, like the counter argument to that is, let's play devil's advocate. Oh, David Goggins, like your life's just miserable. No, it's a balance. That's the whole point.
Yeah, you don't have to go all the way.
What we're trying to say is that it's so skewed at the moment, is that there's no discomfort. It's just all pleasure.
And I think, actually, having done a fair amount of uncomfortable things in my time, I don't know whether it's just me, but I actually can't enjoy something as fully if I haven't earned it. So it's like earning your dopamine response. So dopamine now is so ten a penny. We can get it from anything. We can get it from scrolling TikTok. We can get it from scrolling Instagram. We can get it from watching YouTube. We can also get it from finishing a hard workout. We can also get it from getting out of the cold shower. Okay, so there are times when you can go through something and then come out the other end with dopamine. However, now we can get free dopamine. So we don't have to do anything to get that dopamine. I think that becomes distorted, doesn't it? Because then it just plays into this thing, well, I'm never going to push myself, I'm never going to challenge myself. And then when you go and make decisions in other places in your life, like, should I go to the gym today? I'm tired. You're like, nah. Should I get my steps in? Nah. Should I get my good healthy meal in, or should I order a takeaway? You're going to choose the easy option. So it's like a muscle. You've got to practice these things.
You've got to train it.
Yeah, if you're never practicing choosing the harder option, then you're never going to be good at it.
Yeah.
And you've got to start small, obviously. I'm not saying go and run a 240-mile race. I'm saying pick something that makes you a little bit antsy, a little bit uncomfortable, and just do that, and then do it again, and do it.
It's all relative to the individual, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, we're not saying just go and run a marathon off the cuff.
No.
Like, it's relative to you as a person.
Yeah. So the best advice I'd have is take inventory of, look at what you're doing now, what you're eating now, what your exercise is like, what your daily activity is like. Have all those things in as a factor, and let's just improve them next week. Yeah. And let's improve them the week after. That's all you've got to do. You haven't got to look at me or look at Eddie Strava and think, fucking hell, they're running 35 miles a week. I think you're not doing anything if you're not achieving that. It's like you say, it's relative to the person. Yeah. Our goals and our training life has been different. So you've just got to look at what you've been doing last week and just make it better.
I was thinking about this earlier, and I was trying to think of like a product or a publication that kind of exemplifies this philosophy. You know what I came up with?
Go on.
Fight Club.
Fight Club.
You know the film?
Yeah.
It's that kind of, it's that you've got to like seek discomfort for personal growth.
Yeah.
That's what the film's all about.
That's where growth is. Like, your comfort zone, you never obviously challenge anything in there, do you? So you're not going to grow. It's the same with anything.
Because the film basically tries to hold up a mirror to society and say that, like, look, modern 21st century living is kind of detaching us from our natural way of being. Yeah.
It is, and it's a massive issue. I think
it's also cool as fuck.
Yeah.
But like, there's actually a deeper philosophy going on there.
Well, that's it, and I think it plays into so many things. Like, we can speak about in future episodes, like mental health being obviously higher than ever. Like physical health, obesity being higher than ever. All of these things, I think, are affected by this distorted pleasure-pain balance. But I bet, I'm 100% sure that everyone listening to this podcast can do something better than last week.
Yeah.
Whatever the situation.
100%.
That's just true. That's just truism. So it's like, stop making excuses. And you've got to seek out some discomfort to grow, and whatever it is. And we look at, like, we take it back to fitness. We look at getting better in the gym. You have to push that extra rep. You have to go close to failure where it's getting a little bit tough to improve. Otherwise, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, 100%. Right, so to summarise then, my theory
Yeah.
my theory of why the UK is getting fatter.
Yeah, so we've got 3 points.
We've got an abundance of food.
Yeah, and again, supermarkets, as we've said, play into that and play a huge role in that.
Sedentary lifestyles,
Yeah.
which is across all the Western world, really.
Majority.
The whole globe's going that way, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And then we've got this distorted pleasure-pain balance.
Yeah, and again, they're all interlinked, aren't they? It's
all very... It's a murky grey area.
It is, exactly. Right,
So
next portion.
Yeah, so that's how we're getting fat.
Yeah.
I know what you're thinking, Chef. What are the government doing about it?
Well...
In short, not a lot.
Yeah, we'll tell you.
yeah, we'll tell you.
Yeah, so the government obesity strategy, July 2020. Well, we've got you can go
Yeah,
through
okay, so it's a big document, as with most government policies.
with a lot of gumph.
Filled with a lot of bullshit.
Yeah.
So the main strategy boils down to 3 points. So they want to demand more accurate nutritional labelling, ban retail offers on what's HFSS foods?
Just hedonic foods.
High fat, sugar, salt foods, isn't it? And ban TV advertising of junk food before 9 p.m.
I think that's like a drop in the ocean.
That is basically we're concerned about this, but we've got no money.
Yeah.
So these
we're
are
not
kind of
put
like
any resource behind it. We're just gonna like
we're gonna do some virtue signaling.
Yeah, put some wishy-washy stuff out there. If it sticks, it sticks. Which is a lot, obviously bollocks, because as we've sort of alluded to how much of an issue this is, you can't just have these like non-impactful strategies to deal with this.
I don't want to get bogged down in political ideology, but this is typical Conservative government. It's non-interventionist.
Yeah,
the markets deal with everything, which is to a lesser extent bollocks.
Yeah, but
because
especially with this, because the markets are just out to make a profit.
It doesn't work with obesity, and it doesn't work with climate change either.
No, but I mean, obesity massively so, because we're feeding people exactly what they want, and the problem is that, like we said, over mass-produced food is the easiest to produce, and it's also
most profitable,
the most ultra-processed, because you can't massively overproduce apples, can you? Because there's environmental aspect and there's all this sort of stuff. What you can do is overproduce Snickers bars, because you just fucking manufacture another one. So if you're telling the markets to regulate it, they're just not. They won't. Yeah, or they will, but they'll do it in some bullshit way that doesn't actually have an effect.
Well, so as if that isn't bad enough, as if their strategy isn't powder puff enough as it is, you'd think, oh, well, it's so pathetic, they must have been enacted that straight away. Yeah, no, you're wrong.
Shock.
So far, they've done one of the 3 things they said they were going to do. So
Perfect.
The nutritional labelling got pushed through.
Yeah.
So now you might notice that, like, when you go out for food or something, like a franchise
Calories
restaurant,
on menus,
which is a completely different debate within itself, because it brings up questions of like eating disordered eating.
Yeah.
We'll save that for another.
We'll
save that for another day. The ban on retail offers for ultra processed food has been delayed.
Great. Of course.
And
again,
so
that's pressurised from the market.
Yeah. So this is
because they'll have wanted to do it straight away, but they'll have then put it to the markets, and they'll be like, oh no, we've got this reason not to do it.
Yeah. So that's been delayed until October of this year, and the TV junk food advertising ban has been delayed until 2025.
By the way, let's deconstruct a bit of this. So the demand on nutritional labelling being accurate, how many people read them?
0.
Yeah.
The only people that read them are people that are interested
already
in them.
conscious of their health, which aren't the people we're trying to help, right? So
it's useful for people like us.
Yeah.
Nauseous that like macro count.
Yeah, but straight away, someone who's, obese or overweight who hasn't been touching any of this is just going to be alienated by that, and they're not going to worry about it. Anyway, the ban on TV advertising before 9 p.m. How many kids nowadays stay up past 9
Well, this is my point. So,
so many.
This sounds more impressive than it actually is.
Yeah.
Because if you deconstruct it, kids don't watch TV anymore anyway.
True.
They watch streaming platforms.
True.
They can still walk down the street on the way to school and see a McDonald's advert on a bus station or a bus stop or like the side of a wall.
And also,
you know what I mean?
If we look at where, like you alluded to then, like where people get their most of their media from is social media.
Yeah.
And what we need to do is regulate that, because it's obviously heavily algorithm based. And so if someone's interested in food and fucking eating like a dick, then that's going to pop up on their algorithm, and then shock, a Mackey's advert comes up, and then the KFC. So it's actually not doing anything.
So basically, what we can say from the government obesity strategy is that it's failed.
Yeah.
And that it was shit anyway.
It's flawed anyway.
It's flawed anyway. But if we just go a bit deeper into the government as a whole and their attitude towards obesity.
Yeah.
Can you name the health secretary?
I can. Steve Barclay.
Is that because it was on the notes?
Yes.
Did you know who it was before?
No,
we
I did
did
know
this?
who it was, but he's useless. Is what I can tell you.
Yeah, well, he was a contender for Helmet of the Week as well.
Yeah,
but I thought we'd cover him now anyway.
Yeah,
so
Boris is definitely further up.
So, guess how much he gets paid. In fairness, he didn't come up with this strategy, but guess how much he gets paid a year to
sort this issue out.
To sort this issue out.
I don't know.
£143,000 a year.
Wow, fucking hell, that's ridiculous, isn't it? I mean,
that is fucking mental.
And to have such a failure.
Yeah.
You know, like if you were a private company, or whatever, paying someone 143 grand a year to, like, I don't know, run your ads so that you got more sales. If you then didn't get any more sales, you look at it and be like, aren't you supposed to be like good at this? Aren't you supposed to be doing something with this money we're paying you?
So that
doesn't happen in government.
We've had 5 different health ministers since 2018.
Perfect.
So if you take that out of government and just put business in front of it,
yeah.
So you've had 5 CEOs since 2018.
Yeah. Or in a football team.
Your business is failing.
Yeah.
It's not fit for purpose.
Well, let's look at football teams. Yeah. Fucking Premiership football teams, right? You've got the good ones, the succeeding ones.
Yeah.
Manchester City and Liverpool had the same manager for years and years.
8 years now. Yeah. What is it?
The failing ones, Everton. Right?
Everton.
They've had a new manager every 2 weeks. So we can take that into lots of senses to know that that's failing. Anyway, yeah, I mean the health minister and the health secretary, they don't really. I mean, because they're not experts in the field, are they? This is the argument we had the other day, right? The ministers aren't actually experts in that specific field. They draw from experts and then make the decision themselves, which I feel is problematic because it doesn't account for their own biases. So you could have all the good advice you want, but if you've got a mad confirmation bias over something, you're just going to not hear one of them. You're just going to be like, well, I know he said that, but I don't quite agree, so I'm going to deliver this.
And also, it's just another pointless chain, link in the chain.
Yeah, stepping stone.
So in the US system, these appointments, the people that fill these roles are normally experts in their field. So, I don't know, the defence secretary or whatever would be like a 3-star general or something. Yeah. But in the UK, for some reason, they're MPs that then get appointed to the cabinet. So they could theoretically have no background in it whatsoever. And they rely on senior advisors who are experts in the field.
Yeah.
So, as far as I'm concerned,
let's just remove the middleman.
They're surplus to requirements. Fuck them off.
140 grand
and I'll keep the 143k a year.
Yeah, and I'll pay it to the experts.
Yeah, exactly.
They probably get paid fuck all.
This is what I mean. So it's bollocks.
Well, Matt Hancock got caught out on Steve Bartlett's podcast, didn't he? Because he said, hang on, you've been tech minister and then you were health minister. It's like, how can you be an expert in both of those fields?
And they still know fuck all.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And he's still quoting that he gets paid. He needs to get paid 10 grand a day from that thing the other day.
That's
that could have been a helmet of the week as well.
Yeah. Anyway, I know
we'll digress.
So it's all the haters out there thinking, oh, it's all right, you sitting there slagging off the government health, obesity strategy. Have you got any better ideas? Well, yes, I have, and we're about to get into them now.
So buckle up your seatbelt.
So we've come up with a Brummy Brothers obesity manifesto.
Yes.
And it's split into 2 parts.
Yeah.
We've gone good cop,
safe.
We've gone good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, so we've gone if we were Prime Minister of the democracy we're currently in, so a bit more measured. And then we've gone tyrannical dictator.
Yeah, we've gone full Hitler.
Yeah, so we've got 2 manifestos, so we'll get through them.
I think we've got to go softly catchy monkey first.
Yeah, definitely.
So, we think we're well placed. So we'll just caveat this: we're well placed to come up with the obesity manifesto because I used to be fat and we're both PT. So
that's all you need,
and that makes me more qualified than whatever that fucking helmet's called.
Steve Barclay.
That's it.
Yeah.
My CV's already better than his.
Exactly, and the policies are going to be better as well. So.
Right, so do you want to go first or shall I? We'll do alternate.
I'll go first. So junk food tax. This is quite an obvious one, surely. They did this on sugar, right? They did a sugar tax, but we just extend that essentially
Yeah.
to all junk food.
All ultra processed food, I would
yeah,
say.
yeah, and that goes for fast food restaurants as well. You know, so,
100%. So the UK fast food industry was worth £23 billion in 2022,
which is insane.
and you know they're paying pennies in tax.
Yeah, so let's tax them fuckers and tax all their products.
Yeah.
So that Macca's is more expensive. Because the main thing we need to do to discourage people from eating like a dickhead, basically, is to just make it a little bit more difficult. And the thing about how easy it is for for you to go and drive to Macca's, it costs you £3. You can get 800 calories, and you're full for about 5 seconds. But I think another point on kind of this is the 24-hour thing. So like how many Macca's are 24 hours? What is the requirement for you to get a fucking cheeseburger at 3 a.m?
That's what.
There is zero.
But it's so normalised now.
Yeah.
It's like, it's 1 a.m. I want some scran. Let's go Macca's. It's not like, it's 1 a.m. I want a courgette from the greengrocer.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But also, like, there's no limitation. Like, it's 2 a.m. You want something shit. Well, you can't have it.
Yeah.
There's none of that.
Yeah.
Like, we can just have whatever we want, whenever we want. It's mental. And again, we didn't evolve like that. We're not designed to just have access to thousands and thousands of calories at whatever time. And by the way, if you're going to eat something at, like, stupid o'clock, it throws your sleep off so bad.
Yeah.
Like, your circadian rhythm is completely ruined for a few days. It's almost like you've gone to a different time zone and had lunch in the middle of the day, because your body's like, why the fuck are we digesting something when we're supposed to be asleep? Like, this just isn't right, and so your circadian rhythm's thrown off. But anyway, that's another point.
But yeah, so if you're like a bloody Bedouin tribesman in the Sahara, and you're fucking starving in the middle of the night, you don't go down to Mackey's. You know what I mean? You're fucked.
Yeah.
You either scran the camel that you're reliant on for your existence, or you wait until the morning.
Well, you would have much better sleep-wake rhythms, because you can be asleep when it's dark and awake when it's light.
Yeah.
So
how many Bedouin tribesmen do you see that are clinically obese?
Yeah, they're only shredded. Got a massive six Yeah, they haven't just got mad genetics. But yeah, so that's another.
But the other thing is, right, so if you're taxing these fast food companies more, the government then basically have more money in the kitty to play with.
To push towards obesity measured kind of...
Yeah, so they can pump it into the healthcare system, or they could be more proactive and be like, look, we're going to give this to farmers so they can produce cheaper fruit and veg, which then is cheaper in supermarkets. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's very delicate economy. You know what I mean? And it's all about basically taking money off the wrong people
and giving it to the right
people.
Exactly, almost like Peter Pan.
That's my macroeconomic breakdown of the fast food industry.
Yeah, brilliant.
So number 2, compulsory workplace exercise for sedentary jobs.
Yeah, difficult to implement, I appreciate.
And quite controversial.
However, I mean, as you said the other day, that like when you're a kid and you go through school, you have to have an hour or 2 hours of physical education a day.
Some scientists deemed that it would be good for young children to exercise, so that's it. They have to do it.
Yeah.
For some reason,
as soon as you hit 16,
we don't have to do that anymore.
No
why is it any different?
If anything, it should be more.
Exactly.
You know, more important. Yeah. Because you're only in school for secondary school for like 5 years. You're in the workplace for potentially 60 years.
Yeah.
So let's focus on the meat and potatoes of your life,
and kids generally are more active than adults anyway. So if anything, there should be more onus on adults.
Yeah.
To do forced exercise.
Yeah. And what could forced exercise look like in let's take an accounting job that starts at 9 a.m. and finishes at 5 p.m. That's an hour lunch break in the day.
Yeah, an hour lunch break. You spend half of that doing a HIIT class.
It could be anything though. It could be
or just go for a walk.
It could be. There's loads of places where we can go, but like people aren't going to want to stay after work.
Yeah.
And people generally aren't going to want to come to work earlier. But I think the front of the day is where we could win a little bit more. And I would argue as a business, you would be more productive as a business if you had your people, one, healthy, and two, wake up before they got in the office. Because what a lot of people will do is at 8:59 they'll stumble into the office. 9 a.m. They're not even awake yet. Your first half an hour, you get fuck all from them. They're trying to make a coffee. So if you got them there at 8:30 and said, right, we're going to do half an hour of gentle exercise, then they're going to get to that 9 a.m. and be like, they're good to go. They're awake. They're productive, and that first part of the day isn't wasted.
Yeah, or even if you try and implement like a benefits package for like employees that like walk or cycle to work instead of drive. You know, just give them some kind of financial incentive or something.
Yeah. Or even so, Whoop, you know, Whoop, the company. Obviously, they have a super accurate health tracker that they all wear because they get it through work. But something like that would maybe government subsidised that people wore, and then you could know whether someone's sleeping well, whether someone's doing 10,000 steps, and you could have it at the end of the month, just like you do with anything else, and you have a data screen of your steps in the month. Yeah. Have you done 10,000 every day? If you do, you get a bonus.
Yeah.
And it's from the government or whatever, something like that.
So like this has been trialled in some Scandi countries, like some companies.
They're always more.
Yeah, because they're always more progressive and kind of avant-garde.
Yeah.
So it got trialled and it was largely met with positive reviews.
Yeah, like, I bet it would be.
Ultimately, some people hated it. We can guess what those people look like, but you're never going to please anyone anyway.
Yeah. And the truth is, we need to do something that's going to make a difference.
Yeah, the net benefit of it, you know, so if you like, some people are always going to turn up their arse to anything.
Yeah, and find a reason.
But what you've got to think is this, on a whole, beneficial to society?
Yeah.
Yes.
And again, it's relative. We're not saying that they've got to show up for work and do a fucking Murph every day. Do you know what I mean? We're saying they've got to go for like a couch to 5k equivalent.
Well, you smashed your sales projections, Keith, but I'm afraid you didn't do your Murph last Wednesday, so you're
no
fired.
Bonus for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one of them. And then you came up with a nationalised PT industry,
which sounds more socialist than it is, but bear with me.
Yeah, so obviously the PT industry is private nowadays.
Yeah, it's private, and I think part of the reason, well, not part of the problem, but like I don't think it helps that the healthcare system and like gyms are so far disconnected.
There's also such a barrier to entry. Like, yes, there's now more information than ever out there, but it's difficult to assimilate what's right and what's wrong. So to go to a PT and get it ratified by someone you trust and someone you know who's credible.
Yeah.
You have to pay £40 an hour for the privilege.
Yeah.
How many people have £40 an hour to throw away?
No.
Next to no one. So, you know, people who actually chronically need this advice are probably people of a lower socio-economic background because they're generally people who are more prone to being obese.
Yeah.
They're also the people who aren't going to pay for a gym membership because they can't afford it. Aren't going to pay for a PT because they can't afford it. So, you know, the people who actually really need this advice and need this help can't get it.
I should just clarify what nationalised industries in case people don't understand. So it's basically when something comes under government ownership.
Yeah.
It's publicly owned.
Yeah.
So like my suggestion would be that some gyms become integrated into the NHS.
Yeah.
So then the communication between doctors and personal trainers is a lot clearer.
Yeah.
And instead of you being thrown out of the doctor's office with a load of pills and a sheet that basically tells you to do like 50 minutes of rigorous exercise a week, you get handed over to a personal trainer,
and they keep you accountable.
And then it's all kept in house, so it's all recorded, and then there's the communication between doctors and trainers.
Yeah, that'd be really good. And you get the same patient, same doctor, same trainer.
Yeah,
and it's a million miles away from where we are now.
Yeah, I mean it would cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
So it's already been unfeasible.
Yeah.
And also, it's just costs loads of money basically.
But linking back to the first point, if we tax all the companies we're on about, we might have the money.
This is what I mean. But like, you've got to enact something. Like, nothing's just going to magically happen.
Yeah,
it's going to take
for it like they are doing with their shit policies.
But I think that would help lead us to a more proactive healthcare system.
Yeah,
which we won't get into now because we could do a separate episode on that in of itself. Because I think the NHS is brilliant. Yeah, it's amazing. But I think it's unfortunately too reactive in relation to obesity.
Yeah. Well, in relation to a lot of things, really. Yeah. Like, you know, the prescription of sleep and exercise is such a basic thing, but it's such it's so return on investment positive.
Yeah.
It's insane. Like I think this is in the US, but in an entire medical degree, so a medical training degree, you get 3 hours total of sleep education. Right, so it's a third of your patient's life.
Yeah.
And you get educated on it for 3 hours.
But I don't think you get taught. Ridiculous. I don't think you get taught for much longer on nutrition.
No, you don't. And I've got another point on this.
Go on.
So, the the UK curriculum for PE.
Yeah.
Granted, PE is physical education, right? But I had a look. There is absolutely nothing on nutrition.
But
not nothing.
But as we know, if you want to perform at high level, nutrition is paramount. Yeah, it's integral.
Well, I think also that'd just be the easiest place to put it in. That's what I'm thinking. But so I think there's so much misinformation out there online for nutrition because it's such a grey area.
Yeah.
And no one knows hard and fast what the right answers are. People are like, they scroll through and they think, oh, that sounds decent. I'll believe that. A lot of times confirmation bias comes into it because people don't actually have any insight into it. I mean, how many people don't know what a calorie deficit is? How many people don't know that energy balance governs weight loss?
Yeah.
So many people don't know these things. If we just had them as a bit in the curriculum in PE.
Yeah, so it just becomes the knowledge just becomes normalised.
Yeah, it's just basic. It's so basic. You shouldn't have to pay a PT fucking £40 an hour to find out that calories govern fucking weight loss.
I know we've said it before, but a lot of these PTs are so fucking underqualified anyway.
Yeah.
They've
just stepped on stage themselves.
Yeah.
That's all it is most of the time.
But yeah, that would be a great plan, like you said, because this is the old classic of why the fuck do we need to know Pythagoras' theorem?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that time be much better spent learning about nutrition, how to fuel your body, how to sleep properly?
Even you could, because it's school, you learn quite a few complex things in school, but even about your gut health, your gut microbiome, no one knows anything about this.
Yeah.
But put it into the curriculum. Let's get to the source of the problem. Because what happens is, obviously, those people leave school with no education. They then have kids early, some of them, and then they won't teach their kids it because they don't know it, and then the kids won't learn it. So it's like a cascading effect.
Then that knowledge is lost.
Yeah, exactly.
Lost knowledge, like a dead language. Yeah. It's gone.
And the reason people like James Smith has such massive success is because he's just cutting through the bullshit and actually telling people the truth about these things. But it's so simple that it should be something that's known anyway.
Yeah, well, that's another point, actually. I think, so we've got taxing junk food companies, we've got compulsory workplace exercise, we've got a nationalised PT, or partially nationalised anyway, bringing
whatever would work
to
make it a little bit better.
And then fourth, I think we've got to overhaul school curriculums, better information and knowledge to young people, because the old people are too far gone.
Yeah.
Put them out to pasture. They're finished.
Invest in the youngsters.
Invest in the young people of the future.
Exactly.
The old people are dead.
Not yet.
They're close. Yeah. So yeah, that's 4, and then 5, which feeds back to Mr. Muckbang.
Oh God. Yeah.
And his dead missus. Censorship of binge eaters online.
Yes.
Or just greater social media censorship around
everything like that.
Yeah.
Because they've said about TV advertisement, same for social media.
But this is a great example now, right? Smoking. If someone suddenly so like Nigel Farage, this is the kind of policy that he would come up with, isn't it? If he suddenly came out and said, right, we should start advertising fags everywhere again, people would turn around to him and think, no, you're a fucking helmet. Yeah. They kill people. Why do people not think the same about KFC bargain buckets?
Well, nutrition also kills people.
Yeah.
It's causal of all these heart diseases.
This is what...
so... you're absolutely right, I think.
But we haven't reached that stage yet. But I think it's one of those ones where in 20 years' time, like maybe our kids' generation will look back on and think, wait, McDonald's used to just advertise at the bus stop.
Yeah, exactly. Or it used to be 24 hours.
Because, when you look back at old football pictures now, and they had, Marlborough sponsoring the shirt or whatever, and you think, that is mad. You would never get that now.
You don't get betting, do you?
No, they're trying to phase that out. Yeah. Alcohol sponsorship's banned on shirts.
Yeah.
But I think food, fast food, is the next.
It's got to be
the next one to go. It has to be.
It's like the trifecta, isn't it? You've got alcohol, smoking, and nutrition are the things that drive your health. So it's the last one to go, I think.
So in the same way that people, Andrew Tate, get deplatformed for kind of serious spread of misinformation and hate speech.
Yeah.
These mukbang videos. So I'm not comparing them because Andrew Tate said some dodgy shit.
Yeah, but it's so damaging still.
But it is equally damaging. But there's no. In fact, if anything, those channels, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure they're the ones that are monetised the most because they draw the most
engagement.
Child figures.
Oh well, probably also. In terms of stopping people eating shit.
Yeah.
If you have no sort of craving for a cheeseburger. You're not even in your mind. You're not even thinking about it. If you then go online and see someone nailing like 7 cheeseburgers, what's then in your mind? A cheeseburger.
Yeah,
so the likelihood of you going to Mackey's then and eating something bad is influential, and it does make a difference to people's eating habits. 100%.
You're like instantly salivating, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. Even though you can see the effect it's having on that guy.
Yeah.
Which we'll put up again.
Yeah. Just an excuse to get him on stream,
to drive
basically.
the point.
It's like Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah,
you see that TikTok that I said? Actually, it wasn't a TikTok. Was it an Instagram reel?
Yeah.
Where he was
he's
in his
mobility
his mobility scooter,
Yeah,
and this is something we also need to cover.
I mean, in some extenuating circumstances, obviously, some people need mobility scooters, namely people who can't get around. But if you can't get around just because it's self-imposed and you just feel like you know it hurts because you're too fat, then what's the answer? The answer isn't to further go down that road, further get sedentary, and then let's not walk around at all.
Yeah.
The answer is to go backwards.
This really gets me angry.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, and I may have to use some violent sexual imagery to explain my point. So, as far as I'm concerned, if you're genuinely invalided, you need a mobility scooter.
Yeah, of course. You can get around somehow.
Most of the fuckers I see in mobility scooters now are not only not old, they're also not physically disabled. They're just fat.
Yes. However, they are now disabled because of their weight. So, what happens
it's
is...
self-imposed disability.
This is the
That's
problem.
bollocks. I'm not having that.
If you are disabled, but it's because you've just, you've eaten yourself into that point.
Yeah.
Then there's no, I don't have any sympathy.
That's bollocks, right? Because as a society, we're basically saying, if you get to that state, you basically get rewarded.
We're just going to look after you anyway.
Yeah, we're going to look after you anyway.
There's no fallout from it.
Where's natural selection there?
Yeah.
We just
just sweep these people up.
What we do is we don't give them a mobility scooter. We leave them on the pavement to crawl home. And then if they're lucky enough to make it back before the magpies get to them, then they'll reevaluate their life and they'll make some changes.
This is utopian. I mean, the majority of the people I see that are really overweight in mobility scooters have some sort of, their lower limbs are just fucking packed in, basically.
Yeah, but this...
it's because they're probably insulin resistant because they've spent so much time piling sugar into their bodies and not moving it around by doing exercise. They've just spent so long in a calorie surplus that their body started going, fuck it, we've got to store this shit somewhere. So it starts to shut down areas of your body. And that's when you see, those really varicose purple limbs. People can't fucking walk around on them.
They go to America.
Yeah.
They're 10 a penny.
Yeah, exactly. You can't walk around on them. And that's why some of them have a mobility scooter. But it shouldn't get to that point.
No.
Is my point.
It's a vicious circle though, isn't it? Because as soon as you become invalided, you're still taking in the same amount of calories.
Yeah, but you're not burning even less.
You're not burning anything, yeah. So, unfortunately, it's a vicious circle.
I just think, where the fuck's your standard for yourself?
I don't know. I know we're coming across quite ignorant here. And, I don't know, mental health could play a part for some people. And, it's more nuanced than that.
Of course, it's multifaceted, right?
But at the end of the day, it's not acceptable, basically.
Well, I think... Obviously, it's nuanced and there's loads of factors that play a part. But ultimately, personal responsibility reigns supreme, really, doesn't it? I mean, obviously, there's loads of stuff and we could go into genetics. We can go into...
Yeah, so if you have an underactive thyroid or something, you can't do anything about that.
You still can.
Yeah, you can, but
it's harder.
You've been given a fucking hard
you've been dealt a bad hand.
Yeah.
But what we get into, I guess, is that, like I said earlier, is whatever situation you're in, you can always do something.
Yeah.
And it's that mindset it's like a growth mindset of whatever situation you find yourself in, you can always make it slightly better. And this is exemplified really by, go back to the military for a minute, Mark Ormerod, if you heard of him. So he's like a triple amputee from Afghanistan.
Oh yeah, I have actually.
Yeah, you've seen him with his prosthetics and stuff. He still goes to the gym all the time.
Trains like a beast.
Yeah, he actually set the world record for a mile open water swim in 46 minutes or something, with one limb.
You just put an outboard motor on the back.
Yeah.
He's like, fucking, I'm off, mate.
Well, it's like that mindset of, like, how many people are in a worse state than him physically? Not
So
many.
if you're finding excuses not to walk around the block when you get back from work, and he's literally
swimming across,
floating downstream with
one
3 limbs missing, like there's
You've
no
got
excuse.
and this is what you've kind of got to do. I think it's what I do anyway. If I'm feeling sorry for myself or for whatever reason I don't want to do something, find someone who is in a worse situation than you and is still getting it done, because you don't have to look far. And there's someone there.
It's the old cliche. There's always someone worse off.
There is, yeah.
And it's not all. You can't blame the individual entirely. Like as we've said, there is state
exactly,
failure.
We've been through it.
But at the same time, you have to set your own standards.
Yeah, and this is it. So, like, you have to be, at some point, responsible for your own weight.
Yeah.
It's essentially, you're putting it into your body. Yes, it's more likely if you live in America, for example, and there's hypercaloric food. But it's still down to you.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever we get into in terms of excusing the individual, I think it's still on them up to a point.
Yeah, and you have to think about like the intersectionality of obesity as well. So like in the UK, like you're more likely to be overweight or obese if you live in a more, socio-economically deprived area because, as we've said, like shitter food is cheaper, so it's more accessible.
Also, there's kind of extra strain, stress on your life where you're not even thinking about
which again is like why mental health comes into it.
Yeah, exactly. But I think again, like those things aside, we still, because I feel like most of this stuff, people make these excuses on someone else's behalf. Like the majority of people who make these things vocalised, making excuses, aren't actually the people who are really in a low socioeconomic background or suffering mental health. Most people just make these excuses for making these excuses' sake.
Yeah.
And I'm not a fan of anything that takes the power away from the individual. And this goes for everything. Like I said, there's always something you can do. And what these kind of excuses or these things do is just decrease power from the person. And
it puts an excuse in the mouth. Doesn't it,
and you as an individual can do a whole lot. You can do so much. And when that's taken away from you, it annoys me a bit. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, that was
a detour.
Yeah. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
So let's overview our manifesto for if we were the PM of a democracy.
Okay.
Because we went a bit off piece there.
Yeah.
Got a bit convoluted. Junk food tax.
Yeah.
That's self-explanatory. And it exists in a very watered down form already.
Yeah. And cutting down hours that fast food restaurants can be open for. I think that's one as well.
That's one. Compulsory workplace exercise, again, sounds controversial, but I think if it was actually enacted, the benefits would speak for themselves.
Said, you're always going to get people who are going to be unhappy with it, but it's still ROI positive.
Another great example, some people are outraged against the smoking ban.
Yeah.
Who would want to go back to smoking in pubs now? No. It was fucking rank.
It's
ruin
terrible.
all your clothes.
Or on aeroplanes.
Second-hand smoke. You're getting basically involuntary lung cancer.
And I think now it's been so long that you didn't find anyone who wants to go back to that,
because
even a smoker.
Because you've had that generational divide now.
Yeah.
So for us,
we
completely normalised that you wouldn't smoke in a pub. Anyway, sidetracked again. Number 3, nationalised PT industry or more integrated personal trainers within the NHS.
Yeah, and so specifically contact with doctors.
Yeah.
Because that's a really big thing. If you've got a patient, you're passing them over to a PT, that can't just be, right, it's yours now. You still have to have that.
Exactly, it's that communication. And I know you get physios within the NHS, but it's different. You need very operational gym floor space.
Well, it's very different in the sense that a physio is almost like a GP because you'll go and see him for a bit. You'll see him for an hour and you'll fuck off for 4 months. Whereas a PT, you'll see him week in, week out. So it's completely different.
It's the accountability that a PT gives that we need.
Yeah.
So that's that. You call me socialist if you want. I don't care. Censorship of binge eaters online.
Yeah, massive. As we've been through.
That speaks for itself. Again, if you disagree, leave us a comment. Probably ignore it.
Yeah, we will if it's that.
What was that? Oh yeah,
curriculum.
Yeah, massive.
Curriculum.
This was an ad hoc one, but I like it. I'm already on board.
PE and some sort of basic nutrition advice or in education in schools from year 7 onwards.
I think we should go beyond PE because that's an option that you choose.
Oh,
I think it
okay,
should
yeah.
just be in
Biology,
I think it should be in the national curriculum.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it could be. I think year 7 onwards is fine. I don't think you need to go any further. Below
You don't want
that.
to swamp kids too young.
No.
But like around that, so like if we go back to me when I was fat,
Yeah,
like if
that's
I'd
fine.
have better education at school around nutrition and stuff,
Yeah.
chances are I would have made better choices.
And this might not even be, the kids making really good choices in that moment, in year 7, 8, 9, because they are fed by their parents, most of them. But if you give them the knowledge, and then when they're 18, 19, they're making their own decisions, they've got something to fall back on. It's not like...
They're like, I remember learning about that in school. And they've already got that foundation of knowledge.
Yeah, 'cause how many questions do we get from mates that just have no idea, and no context at all, and they've had a good, solid education, apart from nutrition.
Yeah, the questions, if you had an interest in it, or just even like a base level of knowledge, it would be covered.
Exactly. That's it. Anyway.
So they're the 5.
Yeah.
Let's now go a bit more BDSM.
A bit more rogue.
We're going off piste. This could get quite controversial.
Yeah.
As if the rest of the podcast hasn't been controversial enough.
Yeah. So if you're a wokey,
see, if you are of a nervous disposition, get out now. Right, do you want to go first? Or
sure. So
I'll be honest. Both of these policies have been influenced by a video I've seen on YouTube.
And we will reference it.
Yeah.
Structuring transportation prices around weight, not age. So obviously now we know that if you're a pensioner, you'll get cheaper bus tickets or whatever.
And the same way you get kids' fares and adolescents get subsidised travel. We're suggesting
we flip the script.
We overhaul that system to the extent where you basically get weighed when you go on a bus.
Yeah, so the first, when you step onto the bus, that'd be a scale.
Yeah, so how buses have got air brakes and they go the level of rebound that becomes of that when you step onto the bus determines the price of your ticket.
It's like an algorithm, it just goes £1. Yeah.
But the best articulation of this point is Ricky Gervais.
Yes.
Because I don't know which tour it was. It's quite old now, isn't it?
One,
I bet you put me onto it originally.
Yeah, probably.
But he discusses it in relation to air travel, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
Do you remember this?
Yeah. So, obviously, when you go for a flight, you have an allotment of baggage. So, I have the same allotment as Eddie. Eddie has the same allotment as all you at home, right? Unless you pay for extra, it's like 20 kilos.
Yeah.
Whereas, if you're in a queue for airport security and you see someone who weighs 30, 40 kilos heavier than you, why do they still have the same luggage allowance as we?
Yeah, it should get taken off.
Yeah, it should be like, again, scales. Before airport security, you've got scales, and then your luggage just gets predicated from that.
Say there's a threshold of 100 kilos.
Yeah.
Right, so that's including your weight and your luggage.
Yeah.
So I'm like 85.
So you'd have
that
15
means
kilos.
I get 15 kilos of luggage.
Yeah.
If
that's
someone
true.
weighs 10 kilos more than me, they're basically just wearing Speedos all holiday.
Yeah, or you pay extra for
Yeah, and then you pay extra.
Then that's where that comes in.
But it's taxed, so it goes back to the government, not the airline.
Exactly, I like it. So it goes back to Apple.
It sounds controversial, but we've embedded it in knowledge.
Yeah, it's in logic.
So you can't hate us.
Yeah, and if you are hating, you've come too far in the episode.
Yeah, you've come too far. I've already got your viewing figure now. So I've reeled you in.
Camera died, so we're back in. If you notice a little bit of a clip, then that's all it is. Okay, so point 2, go for it.
Yeah, so just talked about structuring transportation pricing around weight, not age.
Yeah.
Point 2 is restrict the size of entrances to supermarkets.
Yes, so Eddie's gone one further with this. So explain your nuance with this policy.
If any of you remember the programme Hole in the Wall, which was on like Saturday night primetime TV about 13 years ago in the UK, you'll know exactly what I mean. So what I'm suggesting is that instead of having... Because if you've ever been to a supermarket...
Massive doors.
The entrances are fucking massive. They're like aircraft hangars.
No one's ever been too fat to get into a supermarket, is what you're saying.
Yeah. In fact, they encourage obesity.
Yeah.
Because they're double,
quadruple doors, like 3 of them.
Anyway, that's bollocks.
Yeah.
What I would propose is a kind of hole-in-the-wall style...
So you have to have good mobility to get into this.
So the premise of Hole in the Wall, if you weren't aware, is you kind of line up on the edge of a pool with a pool behind you, and then to pass the challenge or to gain points,
you have to fit through this arbitrary hole that's been carved.
You'd have to kind of contort your body to fit the shape of the wall that was coming towards you. So I proposed that, but in every major UK supermarket.
So not only do you have to be of a normal weight, you also have to be functional.
You also have to be an amateur contortionist. Fucking folding yourself in half like that.
To get some fucking bread.
But not only that, so if you can't contort yourself to the required position, not only are you not granted entry to the supermarket, but you're then also swept into a fat rehab clinic.
So if you're out there too long.
If you're out there too long. So not only are you going hungry, you're getting thinner.
Yeah. You're straight into a treadmill.
Yeah.
So that's number 2.
Again, I can't see that going through the House of... I can't see that getting passed through the House of Lords.
Yeah, because Boris Johnson won't get his own fucking shopping.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so that's our tyrannical dictator.
Yeah, so the last ones were a bit of fun, but the first ones I think are actually...
actionable up to a point. Obviously, there'd be some sort of limitation in terms of costing and all that sort of stuff. But
yeah, so we don't know the inner workings of government, but like as kind of like general ideas, I don't see why that...
No, and if you compare them to their ideas, I feel like they're a lot more whole.
Or lack of ideas.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you just compare like for like the even just the curriculum overall to TV advertising, it's like which one hits harder.
Yeah.
You know, like you've gone at the issue from early doors and actually educating people about the correct things to eat, or you're just not going to show them Mackies before 9 p.m. It's like
literally.
That is a drop in the ocean.
Yeah. So there you go. That's the Brummy Brothers Obesity Manifesto. Make of that what you will.
I'm sure you'll comment if you've got any views on it. But
Rishi, if you're listening, I am available to be the new health secretary.
Yeah, and I will take a raise up to 150k.
Yeah, I want more than that helmet though, because I'm more qualified. So I've got
and I'll be more effective.
Got relevant job experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so I don't know if you want to wrap up the obesity episode, Shep. We've still got reasons to be cheerful.
Yeah, so another one of our segments of this new Below the Bar podcast is going to be reasons to be cheerful. So, as we mentioned at the start of the pod, on our long runs nowadays, if we're absolutely in the locker, we'll play this game to try and get us through the last kind of 30 minutes. We'll definitely need it this weekend. So, it's basically just going to be, if you ever watched Russell Howard's Good News, you know, at the end he does that like good news story. So it's just gonna be that every week. With like a topical.
So the thinking behind it was like we've kind of called some knobheads out at the start.
Yeah.
We've talked about some serious stuff, albeit in a somewhat controversial manner. It's all got a bit negative.
Yeah.
Now
we come up.
The UK's going down the pan. It's all shit.
Exactly.
Brexit didn't work, but we finish on a high. So you know.
So I mean, you can leave the episode feeling better than when you came into it. That's the idea.
If you're a goth, leave now. But if you want to balance out your brain chemistry, stay tuned, and we'll give you a nice little throwaway story
every week. So that's going to be our structure. So it'll be helmet of the week, meat of the episode, reasons to be cheerful.
Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
Shall I go for it?
You go for it.
Right, so it's a simple one this week, one we can all relate to. In the UK anyway, it's clocks going forward.
Yeah, so that means more daylight,
yeah,
which then means people are generally of a better mood.
More motivated.
Yeah.
More activity.
Yeah, because you can stay out later.
More vitamin D.
Safer streets. For women. Any women listening?
There's no women listening, let's be honest.
They're definitely not anymore.
Yeah. We lost them at the manifesto.
Yeah, before that. Yeah, so, I mean, more light in the UK is always a good thing.
Yeah. So, for anyone that lives in the UK, you know that winter's depressing as shit. But for some unknown reason to me, some people prefer the winter to summer.
Yeah, I can't get on board.
And of all the people that should prefer the winter, it's fucking me.
Yeah, true.
Because I could burn in 15-degree sunlight.
Yeah,
right.
With factor 50 on.
Oh, yeah, I've set the bar for UV exposure.
You've gone below the bar.
Yeah, I've been on below the bar.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. Summer is just a better time of year. than winter, and now we're going into that better time of year. And as you've seen, it's currently 7:26, and if you can see outside, you can see the light coming in. Anyway, it's still light, so
Yeah.
happy
So
days.
I'm not gonna lie. When the clocks go forward, that's the best day of the year. Better than genuinely better than my birthday.
Shows volumes about his birthday, doesn't it?
Yeah, I haven't got any friends. Better than Christmas.
Yeah, well,
I mean, Christmas is a good piss up, but
it's still dark.
you do the Christmas Eve pub crawl and it's dark by 3,
Yeah,
and that makes you feel more pissed than you actually
it's
are.
true, because it feels like it's 3 a.m.
In fact, if we come at this from the perspective of a session, when it's light outside at like 10 p.m. and you're rat-arsed, it sobers you up.
That's true. Yeah, so you get more out of it.
You get more out of it because it tricks your brain into thinking it's still early. So it's
Yeah.
like, well, I can't be fucked yet.
Yeah, the only thing that happens then, though, is if you're out for a long period of time and you're walking back at like 3:30, 4 a.m. and it's light,
Yeah.
you're like, fuck,
This is terrible. That's the other side of
Because
the
it
coin.
could be 4 a.m. or it also could be 12 p.m. So it's like, this is terrible. But yeah, that's the other side of the coin.
So I'm a massive advocate of like longer days. I think I get seasonal affective disorder quite badly.
I think it's a massive thing.
And I don't think in society, well in the UK anyway, we've reached the point where
That gets addressed.
we've addressed it properly. But that's another issue.
Yeah.
So I'm basically depressed as fuck in the winter. So I love when the days get longer.
Yes.
You can play devil's advocate and play the part of someone who prefers winter.
Well, it's not so much of that, but I have got a statistic that goes against it.
Hit me.
So when the clocks go forward and we lose an hour of sleep, there's a fallout in terms of road traffic accidents and heart attacks that following day, and it goes up by 21%. So 21% increase in heart attacks on that next day, and that's just because we lose that hour of sleep. Because the reverse is true on the other side. When we gain that hour of sleep in the winter, that you see a reduction, so 23%, I believe, reduction in heart attacks and pretty much all cause mortality, but heart attacks and road traffic accidents are the big ones. But what that should tell you is nothing about really daylight saving time. It should tell you about the importance
of sleep,
of getting a good sleep.
Yeah.
Because if you lose an hour, we get that 20% reduction in. If you lose an hour, you get a 20% increase in heart attacks.
Firstly, that's a great stat.
Yeah.
It's not. It's a horrific stat, but it's amazing.
It's an interesting stat.
It encapsulates the importance of sleep
perfectly. Yeah, it does, 100%. Because 1 hour, the difference is just 1 hour, and it's such a huge increase and reduction on the other end.
Theoretically, if people just went to sleep an hour earlier when the clocks went forward, would that not reverse that statistic?
Yeah, so then we're relying on people being
This is what I mean. So it
conscious of their health.
But
This doesn't happen.
So it tells us a lot about the importance of sleep. It also tells us about how little people do for their own well-being.
Yeah, I think there's a massive
because we've all been there, right? Clocks go forward this weekend. One guy, me, I love that, favourite day of the year.
Yeah.
Fucking
Negative Nelly.
Negative Nelly in the corner. Oh, I don't like it. I get 1 hour less in bed.
Yeah. It's one.
Go to fucking sleep an hour earlier then.
Exactly.
So, you're not willing to sacrifice your hour of Netflix.
Yeah.
But you're that bothered about sleep.
But
well,
you'll pipe up.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. You're that bothered about sleep on that one day. But for the other 364 days in the year, you're getting insufficient sleep anyway because you're scrolling TikTok. So, riddle me that.
I mean, we should caveat this by saying that when the clocks went forward, me and Shep were actually fucking rat-arsed in a nightclub. So
True. Yeah. We are advocates for sleep. We're also advocates for balance.
yeah.
So it's an 80-20 rule. That was part of our 20%.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah. But I think we've comprehensively covered the theme of obesity. There's nothing
and if
really.
you missed anything, or if you disagree with anything, bang it in the comments. It'd be interesting to see people's kind of viewpoint on this. Again, it's a huge topic, and we've done it the best justice we can.
Yeah, I think maybe we should push more for kind of engagement and comments with Below the Bar, because I feel like we're naturally talking about, because with Lifting the Lid it was insightful, but
it was an interview.
It was more interview format and not necessarily relatable for everyone.
Yeah.
But I think the whole point of Below the Bar is we're going to try and
segue it and it be
make it more relatable for people. So I think, if you've got any thoughts, whack them in the comments, drop us a message. Be interesting to hear, because obviously this is a legit epidemic that is ongoing. I think we'll obviously have to revisit the issue at some point.
I mean, even in 12 months, we could revisit the statistics potentially. Like,
yeah.
you know, at the moment, what we at? We said 38% of adults in England are overweight. Could revisit that in a year's time.
I mean, we might have a new government in a year.
Yeah,
you never know.
We might have gone viral, and this has been pushed out.
I might be in the same holding cell as Andrew Tate. We don't know.
Yeah, let's hope so. In Romania.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we've covered everything there.
Okay, as a look forward, next episode.
Yes, masculinity.
Okay. Yes. So the kind of it's another epidemic a little bit.
It is.
But yeah, the sort of war on masculinity. It's feeling right now.
The masculinity crisis in the Western world.
That's next episode.
So look forward to that, because that's going to be
juicy. So if you found this interesting, then that's going to be even better. So thanks for listening. If you got all the way through it, then congrats, you're an OG. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one.
See you in a bit.
Peace.
Love that.